Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's good to be back in this space with you.
So good to be back here. So if you are watching this on Substack, I am Rachel Nisaka. My beautiful business partner, Shauna McBrayer, is back.
Hello.
If you are watching this outside of Substack, I'm still Rachel Nisaka. This is still Shauna McBrayer. This is just the second video and not the first. So to dive right in, we have both been embarking on a journey, if you will, of uncovering what it is like to run our own businesses
and be entrepreneurs.
Be entrepreneurs.
Be
Walk
mothers,
away from culture.
Be content creators.
Be mothers and mother.
Mothers, content creators,
Yeah.
CMOs, chief people officers.
All of the above. Executive
All of it.
assistants. Yes. So with that, wanted to get together, just have a chat, because that's what we do. We have chats. And I want to ask you about some of your experiences, what's been going through your mind as you were really immersing yourself in all things She Leads HR.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. So, again, my name is Shauna McBrayer. Since launching She Leads HR, what I have found to be really exciting is that I've been able to do a lot of reading and research. I kind of felt like
nice.
an ostrich with my head in the sand.
Same.
And after all these years, although I've gone to school and got the degrees and all of that, I'm back in a space where I'm curious and I'm learning again.
You're doing it because it brings you joy.
100%.
It's such a concept.
And so for me being in this space, I have really started to reflect back on our careers and the places that we've worked in. And one kind of topic that has been top of mind for me, and I think as I'm reading some of these Harvard Business Reviews and articles that have been shared on LinkedIn and outside of LinkedIn and other platforms, is just the desire for people to feel psychologically safe at work. And
it used to be such a buzzword, and now it actually
it's actually
like
legit.
a thing.
Yeah, people actually want to go to work and feel like their
Because
jobs
they're
are
not.
safe, right? And having the ability to really anchor into the topic of trust.
Ooh, such a good one.
Yeah, and so I've written 2 articles. The first one was called How Much Does Trust Cost? Because I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, it's a nice to have, which I don't know who would think it's just a nice to have. I think that's just being a part of being a good human.
Being a good human, you're not gonna,
Yeah, so trust is not an addition to what you should be doing. You should be operating in a space of trust always. And so as I think about my first article, trust doesn't initially show up right away, or distrust doesn't show up right away.
Yeah.
But it does show up in the bottom line. And we see that come up in things like attrition. We see that come up in our employee surveys.
Yeah, branding,
right?
Employee branding.
Platforms like, what is that platform that everyone kind of, Reddit.
Oh,
right?
Reddit. We definitely see distrust on Reddit.
Exactly. And so employees are looking for outlets to share their frustrations when they don't feel like they're being treated like adults at work, or where there's a lack of transparency.
Well, and the thing too about treating adults like adults is it actually allows you to weed out the people who can't act like adults when they're needed to. So treat them the way you want them to act.
Of course.
Give them the expectations. That's not trust. I don't think that's what you're saying. You're saying give them the expectations, have them do the hard work, but trust them.
And then be able to share business challenges and not have them put the pieces together themselves, but give them enough to understand why we are making the decisions that we're making as an organization, right? So for example, think about this. Think about being in an organization where there's a ton of transformation or a lot of change.
Which is where I think both of us have really spent our careers.
Right. And how instrumental it is to have a good comms person in place, how it's important to have a good HR in place, how it's important to have
And they have to be on
leaders,
the same page.
of course.
And that doesn't mean agreeing on everything.
It does not mean that, but there has to be a level of trust that what we're sharing with the teams are the right things for not just the teams, but for the business. And I think that that's what we're seeing in today's business world, is that there's a lack of trust and continuity between leaders, HR, and employees.
Yes.
And that's a very scary space to be in.
Managers. I think something that we see all the time is that managers aren't equipped to communicate messages with their employees, but HR is saying, oh, the leaders need to own this, the manager needs to own the message. But if HR doesn't give them the tools that they need to accurately own the message, then the employee's going to the manager and they're saying, what's going on? And the manager's saying, I have no idea. This doesn't make any sense to me either.
Exactly.
And you see that, and I know you wrote about employee engagement surveys in your last article. You see that in your employee engagement results, where you have managers who are getting really strong results, and then the leaders above them are failing.
Exactly. And one of the characters in my second article, his name is Ricky Bobby.
Oh yes, I love Ricky Bobby.
And Ricky
He's
Bobby,
been through a lot.
He has been. He's been through the ringer. Ricky Bobby is basically all the HR professionals that have to get in front of their
Ricky Bobby
teams.
is all of us.
He is. Channel your inner Ricky Bobby, but he's all of us in that. Think about having to deliver a message, and you're the HR leader that has to do that, but you also don't have the full pieces to the puzzle. And so when we think about employees trusting HR specifically, that is a huge concern if your teams, and they already have a little bit of a disdain. I think that the way we viewed HR in the past is definitely not the way HR operates today, but still people believe that HR only has the business side at the forefront, and that we don't necessarily have the people side at the forefront.
Well, the thing is that some HR is like that.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. That is still rings true for most, and that's why it continues to be this weird dynamic between employees and HR professionals where they don't feel like they can come to HR and really trust the message and or trust that there's no ulterior motives behind that.
I also think, to take this a second, to us, I think this is partly why we're doing what we're doing, because even for us joining an HR team, you never know what it's going to get, how the culture is going to change over time. You just really never know. And I think that we both kind of felt like, I need some control over my own humanity. I need some control over how I'm going to show up. And I want to give kudos to you, to us, to our relationship, like, to share this, because to me it's really powerful when talking about the topic of trust. Like, we had a conversation recently, and we've always been close, we've always been good friends since we met and started working together, but we had this conversation recently where we both said, this relationship is our priority, and we are going to partner in that way where we are going to have full transparency. We're going to assume positive intent. We had a disagreement the other day, and at the end of it, we were laughing and smiling and saying, yay, we did it, we got through it.
This is our disagreement, and it feels so good.
And that trust was deliberately built through authenticity, vulnerability, open-mindedness, and it makes me feel so much more empowered that we can bring that to other people.
Of course. And I think that that's when I think about us being in this new space or this new ways of working with organizations and not necessarily being told that these are the directives and you need to execute on this or that.
But here's exactly how you have to do it.
Right. It is our ability to go in and speak to a leader or speak to an HR team and be very thoughtful about helping them to navigate the transitions, change management, whatever that message is. And that's really where I think where we both see ourselves as instrumental in that space, where we can share what has worked really well. We've experienced what has not worked really well. And I think that we have some key learnings that I think are important to share with other people. But then also, I want to demystify some of the misconceptions that people have about HR.
I think that HR is seen as the man behind the curtain, and in a lot of ways it is. But it's
like a little bit of a secret society.
Yeah. And it's people are always like, oh, you work in HR. It's funny. When I moved into HR, my wonderful first head of people who I worked for, who I already knew because I was an employee at the company, said to me, welcome to the HR underbelly. And I laughed. I was like, oh, she's adorable. And then now, 10 years later, I'm like, oh my God, she wasn't being sarcastic.
I've had leaders where, and I think we've all experienced this, regardless of what function you're in, where you have worked under a leader that you would run through a wall for.
All of us
have, and, I wouldn't say all of us. I'd say there's probably a good portion of people.
All of us who are still passionate and have a light inside them.
Of course. And then you have those leaders where it's more of compliance versus commitment. And
ooh, that's a good phrase.
Yeah. And I I've had some leaders where it didn't matter how difficult the message was. The time that they invested in ensuring that I understood how it made a connection back to the business, and they gave me the autonomy and instilled so much trust in my ability to deliver those messages. I felt empowered to deliver difficult messages.
How would they have handled it if you disagreed?
We would have had the conversation.
And you would have still had to present it, but you would have at least understood it and understood the data behind it and the impact.
I'll tell you this, if you're in a room with leaders who disagree about something fundamentally and no one can speak up, you have bigger problems.
Well, your bigger problem is trust. You have none of it.
I have a mentor who used to also be a former boss. Shout out to Ricky Barnes.
I thought you were going to say Ricky Bobby.
Not him.
That would have been amazing.
This is a real human. I worked for him many moons ago, and I remember him telling me, when people stop talking to you is because they've lost trust in you.
It's so true.
To me, trust is the bedrock. It is the foundation, the infrastructure of having a successful organization. It doesn't matter what you do in your business model. It doesn't matter how many iterations of your business you have. You still need employees to execute on that mission. And if they're not sold into it, you're going to be unsuccessful.
So what advice would you give HR people or leaders who have to communicate a difficult message and still maintain trust?
I actually think it happens earlier in the stage.
Before you have to deliver the difficult message.
Yeah, I really think it happens before. So think about when you are interviewing someone for a key leadership role, right? Having the right people in the right roles at the right time is important. Being able to assess the competencies, yes, it's equally as important. You need to make sure that you have leaders who understand business, who understand people.
Box.
Yeah. That is a check of the box exercise, and you calibrate and you have discussions to ensure that you have the right people in the right places. However, you can check the box and still not be the right leader for that business
because there's so many different circumstances.
100%.
Yes.
So think about this, Rachel. You're in a company where there's a message that needs to be shared to the entire organization.
Yeah.
You as the business leader, the key stakeholder, you should be able to feel confident in delivering that message. You shouldn't rely on your employees.
Your HR business partner.
No, you shouldn't rely on them and give them puzzle pieces to put together.
Because then they're not doing their work. That is actually getting you the business results. Like, do you want them spending their time slacking quietly, trying to figure out what the bottom line message is? Or do you want them spending their time crushing your business?
Of course. You do not want to be, you don't want leaders that are going to hide behind their employees.
Yeah.
You just don't. And then point the finger when things go wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? It's and so if you think about how to establish trust, it really starts with the right people in the right spaces. I think the second thing is communication. Right? Like, I'm a comms major.
Just like I was saying, the conversation we had, that was communication.
Right.
Both conversations, the trust one and the disagreement.
Yes, definitely. I'm a comms major.
I was too. I was
Really?
also a comms major.
Yeah. How did I not know that?
Corporate comms. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think communication goes hand in hand with change management. So when we think about building trust, right. So when you think about building trust, having the right person at the right time to deliver that message, but then also be able to demonstrate courage and speak to things that may be unfavorable, but they're so necessary in order to establish and maintain trust. Because at the end of the day, when people hang up the Zoom call or they leave the all hands, they're going to be slacking each other.
For sure. They're talking about it good or bad, so might as well try to make it good.
Exactly. Yeah. And so being able to own the message is definitely something that leaders need to do, but we need to, as HR partners, be able to set them up for success.
Yeah, and what you said before about it starts earlier really made me think, during my time as an HR business partner, and even now, it's even more important as an executive coach who's, going out on my own, building up a business. when I first meet with a leader, and I've done this ever since I started in the role, and I actually think this is partially because I didn't start out in HR and I knew what I wanted as an employee, I always would say to leaders, before we even start talking about work, I want to spend just 5 minutes talking as two human beings. Like, and I don't want them to make them uncomfortable, but I would say, tell me whatever it is you want, what you like to do for fun, what your favorite food is, what's the last book you read, like whatever you want. We don't need to go deep, but let's connect as humans. And then if we have a challenging problem to work through, I know that you're a human being and not a robot who's just here, you know.
Right. For kicks and giggles.
Right, exactly.
I was gonna say the other word.
Yeah, but that's okay. We'll say that later.
It's PG.
Yeah.
PG podcast. But yeah, I think, you know, you're in a space where you're meeting tons of different new people, and you don't have that relationship already established. I need them to trust me so that 100%. They'll recommend me to other people. Trust me, recommend me. Recommend her. It really does start with establishing that. When you think of immersion plans, or you're a new employee in an organization, or you're a new people leader, 9 times out of 10, most hiring managers are going to say, hey, I need you to spend the first 30, 60, 90 days establishing trust, knowing who your stakeholders are, knowing where your resources are. It's the bedrock of success.
It's literally how you start. Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
And you have to re-earn it every single day.
Of course. So, but it's easier. It is so easy to lose trust. And so hard to regain it.
I'm going to make a shout out. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead. No, make a shout out. No, make a shout out.
I'll make a shout out to my good friend, you don't know him, Andy Joint, who coined the phrase, and I think you coined this, Andy, because I know you're going to watch this, trust battery. So your trust battery can be charged, your trust battery can be drained. Once your battery is drained too low, it's really hard to recharge your trust battery. Mm-hmm. And some people start out with their trust battery fully charged. Some people start out with it not. That's different. Regardless, every single day that we show up, we have to be authentic. We have to have integrity, and we have to have trust.
Or why are we here?
Or why are we here? Like, how boring and like lamed. I don't want to spend my time with that. I want to do fun, innovative, amazing things that are going to drive business results. Not have the same conversation with the employees who are confused because we're only telling them this much of the truth.
Think about the and I'd love to hear your thoughts around this, but like, think about the employee satisfaction surveys, right? Mm-hmm. We will sit in a room and we'll look at the information and we'll put together presentations.
Figure out how to make the data sound exciting for people.
Right. And we'll come up with various, at times, superficial goals that don't actually address what is happening. It's like
writing something on your to-do list that you've already done and then checking it off.
Right. So if you really want to make a change in your organization, and you want employees to engage in the survey, they have to be able to trust that change will be...
That you'll care.
Trust will come as a result to their feedback.
Yeah.
Right? Or else it's just falling on deaf ears. I know for myself, there were times where I didn't completely
I wasn't honest.
Well, it's not even that I wasn't honest. I didn't trust that what I was writing was actually going to be addressed.
There's and then that, but I was also like, I don't want them to figure out that I'm the one who wrote this.
Right. But then to make it worse, when your leaders turn around and they're like, okay, you gave me this feedback, so figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? That's not establishing trust.
Yeah.
If you want to address trust in your organization, you have to do the work as a leader. You have to do the work as an HR subject matter expert.
Yeah.
You have to be able to understand what the data is telling you and look beyond the obvious trends and dig deeper and really understand, well, what is the disconnect? And that is where the real work and the real magic happens.
And that's where you get into the humanism of it all.
Preach.
Mic drop.
2 mic drops. Well, there's so much that we can say about this topic.
There really is.
We're coming up on 20 minutes. And what I want to leave this audience with is, Rachel and I are really passionate about this subject. And we're really passionate about people. And our goal in starting our own businesses is really to meet that business need where businesses are thriving as a result to people being highly engaged in what's going on.
They're not at odds with each other. If we can work with organizations that can understand that with our help, they can actually invest in their people to improve their business results, and not just feeling like, okay, we don't have any budget.
Right. And it's not two separate entities. There's not a people strategy and a business strategy.
There's
They are one
strategy.
in the same.
And your people are the people who make it happen.
And I'll tell you this, if your people strategy comes after the business strategy is already curated, more than likely you will fail. So when you're thinking about establishing your business strategies, you need to be call us, yes, but you need to be thinking about intertwining your people strategy and ensuring that you're meeting those KPIs and those robust goals. So, okay, I'm on my soapbox. Rachel, do you have any parting words?
I'm so happy that we filmed this video together
Me
today.
too.
Just so you guys know, every time Shauna and I are having a conversation, we're saying, oh my God, wait, we should be filming this. So now we filmed it. And we hope you enjoyed listening to us chit chat.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.